You can't spend that long doing research and then go, yeah, Rabiot's the guy. And if you do, that should be setting off alarm bells. Big ones.
Carl, did the mention of Rabiot have you frothing at the mouth? You were warning people on Twitter you were going to have your say on this player on this podcast. Shoot.
Oh.
Yeah?
It'd be embarrassing if it wasn't sad, and it'd be sad if it wasn't maddening. I understand. I'm going to wheel back now. On Friday, I went to Erik ten Hag's very first press conference as Manchester United manager before a game, and he was asked about the central midfield situation. He was asked about transfer targets, and Ten Hag said, it's not about bringing in a player. They have to be the right player. So that's your Friday. And then on Monday, we first see news, David Ornstein reported that there's interest in Adrien Rabiot. And I keep falling down by how those two events happened. I do not understand what makes a Manchester United manager or Manchester United recruitment team spend so long trying to get Frankie de Jong and then say we're willing to wait as long as we get the right person, to then 48 hours later say we are not say we're interested, but for them reports to come out and say you're interested in Adrien Rabiot, because they are two very different players. And there is a tiny, if you squint really hard and tilt your head and get your calculator out and watch loads of match footage, you can kind of see how those two players might complement each other if they both arrive at the same time.
Well, I was going to say, I'd presumed, and that is a very strong use of the word presumed, I guess, that Rabiot and de Jong could both happen, potentially.
So, if Adrien Rabiot, there's a fantastic piece in the Athletic right now from James Horncastle explaining Adrien Rabiot, and he says he's a really tall, elegant player, but he's not particularly technical. He's got
tall and slim.
He's tall and slim. He's got
quite nice.
He's got a good stamina and can do a little bit of everything. And if you read that description and you talk to Juventus fans and you talk to PSG fans about how he's not really got a best position, he's kind of a 6, he's kind of an 8. He actually prefers playing outside areas, but his big thing is he puts in a tackle and he passes pretty safe. My response is, well, United just had that player. They've just sold him to Fulham. He's called Andreas Pereira. Why, other than the fact that Rabiot is left-footed, what are you bringing him in for? Now, I did talk to Ten Hag on Friday about why he keeps using left-footed players in deep positions, and Ten Hag mentioned that it's really important for him to have a left-footed player because it helps with orientation and defence, and he passes out. To which you would go, okay, but you've got a left-footed player in deeper areas. That's Martinez, and now that's Fred. So then you go, would a pivot of Rabiot on the left of central midfield next to someone like Christian Eriksen make sense? So Eriksen sort of passes and Rabiot tackles a little bit. But again, it doesn't necessarily fix a lot of the issues you saw on Sunday, which is progressive passing. Rabiot is not a progressive passer. He's not someone who can get you the ball from the edge of your penalty area to the edge of the other person's penalty area. And while he's aggressive, he's not an outstanding tackler. So this is everything about this Rabiot deal smells off. And maybe Manchester United really have been tracking Rabiot for this long. I don't know why you would. And it's very hard for me to understand that you'd be tracking him in the same summer you've been tracking Frankie de Jong. He's not a good plan B for Frankie de Jong, what Frankie de Jong does. Nor is he the exceptional midfield partner for Frankie de Jong. Nor he's an upgrade on Fred and Scott McTominay, but not in the way you would want to upgrade Fred and Scott McTominay. So why are Manchester United in the middle of August pursuing a man in his late 20s and a year left on his contract at Juventus for, I'm going to assume, premium wages? That doesn't necessarily solve all the problems of their squad. You can't spend that long doing research and then go, yeah, Rabiot's the guy. And if you do, that should be setting off alarm bells. Big ones.
It smacks of what we've seen of for years, which is late transfers coming in. I can 100% understand why United want Frankie de Jong, and you used the word technical. He's an extremely technical player, far more technical than... It was put to me that where Scott McTominay would take 2 or 3 touches, De Jong's already decided where his first touch is going before he's even received the ball. And that really made it clear to me. And it was also put to me that at his best, Paul Pogba could do that, but we didn't see that happening at his best. And Marcus was already running because he knew what was coming from Pogba. And if you get them type of combinations, then and you get them all over the pitch, you're on the way to having a winning football team. So fans now, I think, in United are panicking in the transfer window. Up to a month ago, I said there was no plan B. Now there clearly is a plan B. The first I heard of Arnautovic was in Oslo. So that's relatively late on as well. To be fair, I spoke to someone at another club on Monday who explained how difficult the strikers market is at the moment and how they had put 6 months into it ahead of last year, and just saying it's a really complicated market at the moment, the strikers market, and gave very specific examples of who and why and what and how much they cost and why they were good and why he's better as a 10 or he's better as a 9. But none of this is going to wash if Manchester United don't bring a striker in, because it is still Manchester United, still one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And it's the same with the midfield. I wrote a pretty optimistic piece about Fred before the game at the weekend, and I just felt it imploding during the match against Brighton, like the team. And I think that Scott McTominay does have a place at Manchester United. I'm just not saying that should be first team starter all the time, because it's a downgrade or a downy grady on what we've had in the past. And I've seen a lot this week which United players will get into a best Premier League 11. And it's a really interesting question to ask, because so few of them would at the moment on their current level, on their current stock. I also spoke to someone else on Tuesday who knows a lot more than I do, and that person said the players at United are not as bad as some of the fans are saying. It's more about you've got to get a team spirit together. You've got to get that collective working together. And I found that quite interesting. And this is someone whose job is to know these things. It's like, you don't write all of these players. We were interested in one of them earlier on in the season. They're not as bad as people think they are. We're just talking about this now from a position of weakness after that Brighton game.
I think the question is, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, when Jesse Lingard was playing really well for West Ham, or when Romelu Lukaku was playing really well for Inter Milan the first stint, is there are clearly talented individuals at Manchester United, and a lot of those deals in isolation make sense. It's just when you put that all together as a 11, or you put that all together as a squad, all you can see is the disjointed seams of manager who comes in with a different managerial plan for the last one, with a different managerial plan for the last one. And what you get are these, what Laurie described on Monday as the pragmatic, short-term purchases. Why is Eric Bailly still at Manchester United? Is if I want to be really, really mean about it, they extended Eric Bailly's contract because they wanted to protect his value. And then when Harry Maguire was injured last season, before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer preferred a half-fit Harry Maguire over Eric Bailly, and we have reports that Eric Bailly essentially stood up in the dressing room afterwards and just went, "Well, why did you do that? I'm fully fit. Surely." And he, no disrespect to any of those three parties, but it's those sorts of situations. And yes, Manchester United apparently seem to be interested in Cody from PSV. He's a very good left-sided attacker. And then you go, what does that do to the rest of your squad? You've bolstered, once again, another player who prefers to play on the left-hand side, cut inside and shoot. Surely you need someone on the right-hand side that can do that. What does that do to your hierarchy? And this thing about Rabiot might be slightly better than Fred and Scott McTominay, but then you're going, well, what's the midfield plan? Are you going to play in midfield 2? Are you going to play in midfield 3? Is Rabiot going to be your deepest midfielder when he receives the ball? The contingency plans don't make sense with the plan A, and the succession plans don't seem to make sense either. Everyone's talking about how good Brighton are and how well Brighton are, and how when Brighton sold their 2 best players, it didn't really matter because they already had their replacements within the squad. Moses Caicedo was told very early on, don't worry about how much game time you're getting at a certain time period, because eventually Bissouma will leave. I've listened to Graham Potter say, if Brighton wants to get higher in the Premier League, not everyone in this team is going to be here. Not just on, we need to sell you to players on top, but also once you reach a certain point, the players that got you there might not be good enough anymore and will need to be moved on. And Manchester United can't do those things. And the fact that Brighton can do those things, the fact that Brentford can do those things, the fact that every team that finished in the top 4 can do those things. Again, alarm bells. What are you doing? There's another player at PSV that Manchester United probably should have secured for their central midfield, and he's just signed a contract extension. And you're going, what? If you're interested in PSV players, why weren't you interested in April when Ten Hag was properly announced and you knew what was going on and you knew what the squad was? Why weren't you talking to PSV at the start of your preseason tour in late June? These issues have been known for ages, and to get this far in and you still have those issues, what are you playing at?